1.1. If we withdraw, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma will fall. But the ripple effect will be far greater, with communist agitation increasing in Africa, India, even Japan. We will have to give up some bases. Pakistan will move closer to China. Point 2, our pledge is a pillar of peace in the world, and if we break it, our allies will lose faith in us. And 3, because we have so persistently and publicly committed ourselves to preventing a communist takeover in South Vietnam, our failure to see that commitment through will be profoundly devastating to our prestige. This is why I recommend the following. 1, put the men in. Westmoreland's plan is sound. Every quantitative measurement shows we can win. 2, call up the reserves and extend tours of duty. And 3, expand the bombing. In the north, remove restrictions on bridge and rail lines, mine the harbors, expand Rolling Thunder from 2,500 to 4,000 sorties a month. In the south, tactical airstrikes must be supplemented by increased B-52 bombing of VC base areas. Now, to elaborate. Clark, I think you scored some terrific points in there. I'm so glad you were arguing the other side.
Bob, you believed what you said to the president. You're certain we can win.
Well, I sure hope there's no mistaking my confidence on the president's part.
Well, that's not what I'm asking.
Clark, I've seen the charts, I've run the numbers. Everything else is soft speculation.
I had dinner with President Kennedy just after the missile crisis. And he told me that if it had not been for you, keeping your head facing down the chiefs, thinking clearly, we might not be alive today. Now, there were no charts or numbers then, just judgment. You're telling me that it is your judgment that this is the best course of action for this country, for this president.
I can only give my best advice. That's what I did for Jack Kennedy. It's what I'm doing now. I'll see you at dinner, Clark.
You want to stop somewhere and talk about it?
I'm all talked out, honey. Nothing but talk. At some point, the talking's got to end. God help us when the talking ends.
Lyndon, oh.
100 PhDs among them, 10,000 IQ points, and I can't get an answer I can sit with. And if it turns bad, they'll say this wouldn't happen under Jack Kennedy. No, sir, because he could do no wrong. He leaves 1,000 on the beach in Cuba, and his numbers go up.
Lennon. Now. Lennon, now, come on, honey.
What do you think of crashing through that damn gate and driving back to Texas?
Now you know you'd get no argument from me.
You hate it that much?
Have you ever considered the shoes I've had to fill? She didn't die with him.
Oh, he didn't die. He's more alive than ever. But his half-sized brother was one to have his brains in the 10th his scruples, ate his heart out, and took in his spirit, sure as he was out of some engine story. And me, I'd be President What's-His-Name, who came between the two. The president who lost America its first war.
Why must young Americans, born into a land exultant with hope and with golden promises, toil and suffer, and sometimes die in such a remote and distant place as Vietnam? It is because in the fight for freedom, the American people have learned that retreat does not bring safety, and weakness does not bring peace. If we are driven from the field in Vietnam, then no nation can ever again have the same confidence in American promises or in American protection. We did not choose to be the guardians at the gate, but there is no one else. Nor would surrender in Vietnam bring peace, because we learned from Hitler at Munich that success only feeds the appetite of aggression. I have asked the commanding general, General Westmoreland, what more he needs to meet this mounting aggression. He has told me, and we will meet his needs. I have today ordered to Vietnam the Air Mobile Division and certain other forces, which will raise our fighting strength from 75,000 to 125,000 men almost immediately. Additional forces will be needed later, and they will be sent as requested.
Yeah, but how many?
Now, I do not find it easy to send the flower of our youth, our finest young men, into battle. I think I know how their mothers weep and their families sorrow.
Mr. Secretary, Senator Morse has been calling Vietnam McNamara's war. What is your reaction?
This is a war of the United States government. I'm following the president's policy and working in close cooperation with the Secretary of State. Now, I must say I don't object to it being called McNamara's war. I think it's a very important war, one that I'm pleased to be identified with and to do what I can to win it.
Appearing on Meet the Press yesterday, McNamara was asked to comment on Hanoi's claim that some 10,000 civilians have been killed in the bombing, including thousands of women and children. Some loss of innocent life is unavoidable in an operation such as this. I can tell you that we are taking every possible precaution in choosing targets. The risk of civilian casualties is most assuredly one of several factors considered. So what target are you recommending?
It's a cement factory along a major rail line. General Wheeler feels military value is marginal, but the monsoon has socked in more valuable targets.
What's the output of the facility?
It appears to be small, sir, even by their standards. It couldn't produce enough for them to rely heavily on the output.
Let's give it a C for military value. What's your risk analysis?
Risk to pilots is close to zero. There might be some small arms fire, but recon shows no anti-aircraft emplacements.
No MiGs in the area?
Well, they'll be protecting more valuable targets and probably won't risk losing them defending this one. Depending on cloud cover, we may have to come in low enough to be in range of small arms, but this is a small risk.
Give it an A for risk to pilots and aircraft. What's your flashpoint analysis?
The target is more than 20 miles outside Hanoi, so there's little risk of provoking China or Russia.
Kosygin or Mao won't be down there touring the factory that day, will they? This isn't one of Russia or China's friendship projects.
A gift from the motherland?
I want his pecker in my pocket.
The thing we have to do, we have to get him to ask for the troops. To say he wants rights, he wants peace, but he just can't control his own people. Make it his failure. That's what we have to do.
In an interview today, Governor Wallace denied that Alabama state troopers and sheriff's deputies used unnecessary force in routing Negro marchers in Selma.
Call the speaker. Tell him I want to address Congress on television. That goddamn bill's going up now.
One more, Governor Wallace. A little closer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sit down, Governor. Over here. That's it. Over there. Oh, right in the corner. Corner, Governor. That's it. Hey, Governor. You wanted to see me?
Yes, Mr. President, I want to thank you for agreeing to see me.
Goddamn demonstrators. Keeping Ladybird up, disturbing my daughter's wrist. Turn that thing off.
Subversives, most of them. Communist Party's behind the whole thing.
You know what I do? I send some of them Secret Service boys out there with itching powder. Sprinkle it on the back of some of their necks. They drop them signs they're carrying, scratch themselves raw.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna give my people on that.
Better than that, Governor. We ought to go out there. We got all those television cameras. You see those television cameras that go out there?
Yes, sir.
Well, why don't we go out there and we'll turn them cameras around and we'll announce that you decided to register every Negro in Alabama.
Mr. President, as much as I...
Nick, give me one of them Constitutions.
Yes, sir.
Nick's got the Constitution. Hey, thank you, Nick. Now, Governor, I'm sure that somewhere in here it says that Negroes have the right to vote.
Yes, Mr. President, and they have the right to vote in Alabama, but it's the county registrars. They under Alabama law, they're independent, and I don't have the power.
George, now don't you shit me about who's got the power in Alabama.
Mr. President.
Now, come on, Governor. You're a persuasive man. Hell, I was watching this morning on all 3 networks. You were attacking me.
I wasn't attacking you, Mr. President. I was attacking the idea.
Idea, hell, you were attacking me, George, and I tell you, you're so damn persuasive, I nearly changed my mind. You have marvelous powers of persuasion, don't you, Governor? Governor Wallace, you and I shouldn't be sitting there thinking about 1965. We ought to be thinking about 1995, when you and I belong in our graves. Now, you got a lot of poor people down there in Alabama, a lot of ignorant people, people who need jobs, people who need a future. You can do a lot for them. In 1995, Governor, what do you want left behind? You want a great big marble monument saying George Wallace, he protected the weak, the poor, the impoverished people of his great state? Or do you want a little piece of scrawny pine laying there in a harsh caliche soil saying George Wallace, he hated? I'm sorry, Governor. I interrupted you. You wanted to tell me something?
Mr. President, I've had the opportunity to reevaluate. And I think that I just may not be able to get things under control without some assistance.
Governor, I'll give you any assistance that's mine to provide. Now, what specific measures would you suggest?
The president and I have spoken, and I have assured him that I abhor brutality. And in my eternal commitment to law and order, I will do whatever it takes to maintain the peace.